Okay, I think it'll work. Go for it. So we have these topics every month if you're new here. Um, and our topic, which I'm introducing, is play. And I kind of thought that was a strange topic because we're usually very serious. But I did find that there is some articles out there about the serious business of play. And so I kind of thought that was interesting. Um, and especially how serious it is as we take play as a society when viewed from the sums of money that players, professional players make, and the chunks of dough that spectators shell out to watch them play. So,
You're being too serious. You need to lighten up a little bit here.
oh,
Step aside. Okay, I got a joke for y'all. What did the grape say when the elephant stepped on it? Nothing. It just let out a little whine.
thank you for that. And I do want to say that usually when I give a sermon, I welcome comments. So thank you for that comment. So since this is such a serious topic, feel free to interrupt me and comment of your own claim. Now, I just heard that Lionel Messi, who was a soccer player for Argentina, and he was the most valuable player as far as winning the last World Cup, turned down $100 million from Saudi Arabia to play for them, and instead to play for the MLS team, Inter Miami, for $50 to $60 million a year. And this is coming from a guy who said this: money doesn't thrill me or make me play better because there are benefits to being wealthy. I'm just happy with a ball at my feet. My motivation comes from playing the game I love. If I wasn't paid to be a professional footballer, which is another word for soccer player, I would be willing to play for nothing. Right. How many of you believe that? Maybe he was being satirical. This example of Lionel Messi resonated with me. I'm a little soccer crazy myself. I like the sport. But if you like baseball or football, the same things are going on with them. MLB pitcher salaries range from $750,000 to $48 million. And Major League quarterback salaries are in the same neighborhood, give or a few million. Who's counting besides the IRS? Right. I know professional play is not what our theme is really about this month. When Touchstones talks about play as a theme, they're referring to a state of mind where we're not so serious. In fact, a child learns through play. Children probably learn more in their first 5 years than first 5 years playing than all the rest of their life. I know that's a little bit hard to believe, but I'm not talking just about intellectual. I'm talking about physiological, psychological, social, sensory, language, and yes, intellectual learning. They're all combined. They're all trying to do this. We usually don't think of these things, but children are on a mission. And whether they know it or not, to develop billions of neural pathways together so that they can develop as adults. This is all happening so fast. Oh, yeah.
Speaking of building neural pathways, and Ed's so good at that, I just wanted to share this conversation that I overheard with our Reverend and between Reverend and Ed. And I overheard her saying to Ed, I didn't see you at church last Sunday, Mr. Miguel. I hear that you were out playing football instead. And Ed replied, "That's not true, and I've got the fish to prove it."
Well, thank you, Kim. So, in an online article entitled "Why Children's Play is Serious Business in an Education" by Karen D'Souza, she wrote, "While adults tend to associate play with pleasure, many experts see it as a cornerstone of the social emotional learning that helps build adult skills. Play can actually help build the architecture of the growing brain. Experts say play is not frivolous. It enhances brain structure and function and promotes executive function, i.e. the process of learning, rather than the content, which allows us to pursue goals and ignore distractions. As an American Academy of Pediatrics report put it, when play and safe, stable, nurturing relationships are missing in a child's life, toxic stress can disrupt the development of executive function and the learning of prosocial behavior in the presence of childhood adversity becomes even more important. In a book by Michael Edwards called "What If?", the author explores what society would be like if modern-day megasports were not the epitome of social life. Using artificial intelligence to help him predict the evolution of society with such a pretext, he said that the fitness of society, or their average health, would be 50% better because there would be no armchair quarterbacks, so to speak. Instead of sitting around in easy chairs yelling at million-dollar athletes and watching them get concussions and throw their arms out, there would be neighborhood teams led by the same natural athletes after their full-time jobs of bakers, managers, and insurance salesmen. Edward predicts that diabetes and heart disease would be reduced a whopping 100% and cognitive decline 200%, with a 50% increase in intellectual and emotional maturity. Sadly, however, the medical trauma industry would grow 10 times what it is today, since much more of society would be playing sports without proper training and equipment. In an article from Michigan State University titled "The Purpose of Play, Why Play Matters," author Carrie Schreier said, although it's extremely tempting for parents to demand skills-based programming for their young children in a desire to see them perform academically, research shows us that the critical social and emotional skills taught through play are a better indicator of long-term success than early reading or other academic skills. Much of this research points to the fact that early childhood education, pre-K, is extremely important and should be a part of public education.
All this research and psychological stuff just reminded me of a joke I have to share with Elisa. A Freudian slip is when you say one thing and you mean your mother.
So, why did the employee of the calendar factory get fired? You're gonna really have to think about this one. She took a day off.
Thank you, I think.
The music director has one. Are we still allowed to call straight girl? Yeah. So why are you so bad at singing hymns? Why? Because they have to read ahead and see if they agree with the lyrics.
Another little story here. A ship was sailing past a remote island spot and spotted a man who'd been stranded there for several years. The captain goes ashore and rescues the man and notices 3 huts. He says, "What's the first hut for?" And the castaway says, "That's my house." And he says, "What's the second hut for?" He says, "That's my church." He says, "And what's the third hut for?" "Oh, that's the church I used to go to."
Thank you. Is there anybody else? So, Maria Montessori, famous for her work in early childhood education, once said, "Play is a child's work." Privately, now, Montessori believed that in extending the concept of playful learning well into college and beyond, well, she herself had the seriousness necessary to develop the curriculum for her famous namesake schools for children. Whenever she could, she would revert to being a child herself. In an unauthorized biography of the famous educator, Angel Michaels, in her book, The Child Eternal, would recount her observations of Montessori as a close friend she was from the age of 3. She said Montessori's parents were new age and let her turn every room in their house into a playroom. She loved visiting Montessori as a child, but began to feel awkward as they grew into adults because the rooms in her house were never changed much from when they were children. Every room in her house was filled with building blocks and of all sizes. There were no chairs. You had to sit on the floor. Naps were mandatory and meals were just finger foods of apple slices and carrot sticks with no scheduled eating times. She recalls one scene where Montessori had to be dragged from her home screaming, "No, no," while exterminators fumigated the house to rid it from all the vermin helping themselves to the finger food that was laying about. This got me to thinking that if we developed into a society based on play, there would be no A-bombs because the technology would not be deemed necessary. And there would be no wars because we could just play games to settle the disputes. The proverbial trophy would be passed around with much laughing and handshaking and backslapping. The importance of play was not just recognized in modern times, it was incorporated into Grimm's fairy tales over 200 years ago, as explained by my friend and fairy tale expert Ron Ellison, who is sitting here with us today. A motif you find in a number of fairy tales is one where a young person is playing with a golden ball. I just want to, Jenny, would you mention? So, this motif of the golden ball, the most typical situation one found in Grimm's The Frog Prince and in Iron Hans is that the ball becomes lost and is returned by some wild creature. The ball, by its roundness and gold color, seems to suggest wholeness, completeness, and radiance, the very thing we love in children before they reach the age of self-consciousness and a suppression of their natural impulses begins to appear. Now, the wild creature that returns the ball, like all characters in a fairy tale, is a personification of an energy in the psyche. In this case, something that is pre-civilized, something that, while it can be repressed, never leaves you.
Ooh, bubbles.
So the fairy tale serves to remind you that when you're watching children at play and admiring their spontaneity and disregard for the utility of what they're doing, that this energy state, to use a metaphor from the Frog Prince, is lying at the bottom of the pond. That is the unconscious of every adult individual and is waiting to be brought to the surface again. Oh, whether it's cats chasing a laser pointer, baby bunnies playing a game of chicken, or children running and screaming in the park, to an observer it is all fun and games with no apparent purpose, but they are getting exercise, being creative, and testing their reflexes, skills that could come in handy for real world as adults. Play has its origins somewhere in the subconscious. We all did it naturally as children, and its only reward was that it made us laugh and feel good. Its lack of structure was probably developing the right side of the brain, the creative artistic side, to balance out the left side, which is more logical and reason-based. There is no telling when playing around became a spectator sport that was interesting to others willing to play big money to watch. But it's probably no surprise that these professional players would not be who they are today if they did not have the unstructured playtime with no rules when they were young. Wouldn't that be an interesting study? Or would it be obvious? How would a good play environment as a child shape the lives of adults? There is a lot of ad hoc data about how play benefits us early on. But what if it became so mainstream and so obvious, such that there was irrefutable proof that would shape public policy and not just be required to develop athletes? My advice to you: be playful, not logical. Thanks, and blessed be.
That was fun. Thank you, Ed. Okay. So this is the point in time where we recite our offertory words that you find on the front of your bulletin. I'm sorry, is it on the front? In your bulletin. Let there be an offering to sustain and strengthen this place, which is sacred to so many of us, a community of memory and of hope, for now we are the keepers of the dream. There is no special collection for the month of July.
Right, right. I don't know. It's unstructured.
You know the ending of the story of the golden boy? Frog said he was really an enchanted prince, and if she let him sleep on her pillow, the spell would have been broken. And she thought, eh. But she thought, what the heck? And she took him on and let him sleep on her pillow. And when she woke up the next day, he was a handsome prince because he was telling the truth. And do you know that to this day, her mother does not believe that story?
Elisa just told me that somebody slipped on the bubble, so make sure to remind people to be careful that there are bubbles on the floor. It could be slippery.
Oh, okay.
Jenny's wiping up what she keeps.
Okay. Well, that was interesting. All right.
Good luck getting it back.
I know. What have I started?
You still wrap it up your server?
I'm going to wrap it up.
Okay.
Yeah.
When you get done, just come down here and hit end, and then stop recording.
Oh, okay. Okay, kids. I'm also told that you should be careful, just public service announcement. There's some bubbles that might be still on the floor, so be careful while you're walking. So how shall we end this? Maybe you want, or we can go straight to the closing. I mean, it is 11 o'clock. All right, so what, oh, by the way, thank you, Gretchen, for playing. And so what Elisa is saying is that she's had 5 minutes warning the fact that our internet's out. So I had a video plan for Blue Boat Home. It's number 1064 in your teal hymn. No, if you still want to do it? All right, let's do it. Let's just do one verse. Okay. Oh, below me I feel no motion, standing on these mountains and plains, far away from the rolling ocean. Still my dry land heart can say, I've been sailing all my life now, never harbor or port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat home. Want to keep going? Our benediction is very short. Whatever lifts the corners of your mouth, trust that. That's by Rumi. We extinguish this flame of our chalice, but not the fires within that keep us laughing. Be playful always. And we'll have a postlude by